Recording in progress.
Okay. Start here. Go share presentation mode. And Harlan and Margie are with us on Zoom. I don't know why that is. But it works. So we know it works. Okay, so we're in 2 Samuel 16. Remember that the Chronicles don't talk about the bad things that David participated in. So we're not going to have too many Chronicles references throughout this. If any today, we won't have any. 2 Samuel 16, starting in verse 15. Now Absalom and all the Israelites came to Jerusalem. Ahithophel was with him when Hushai, the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom. Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king, long live the king." Now I'll stop right there. Remember if you may remember last week, David left the city with a bunch of his followers. They left the city, but he left 10 concubines back to take care of the house. Right? The palace. But he left also the 2 priests there because the temple is or the tabernacle is there in Jerusalem. But he also left a most trusted advisor. One of his main advisors had left to go with Absalom, which surprised him. So one of his other most trusted advisors he has put into Absalom's camp as a spy.
We didn't read any of this.
Yeah, we read it last. We didn't read this, no, but we did read where David told him to stay with Absalom, join. So this is what we're getting to. Hushai is that other trusted advisor, and Hushai is going to be the connection between David and the priests. So everybody is on the same page because the priests are loyal to David. He's the anointed king. Okay, so. Absalom, verse 17, Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your loyalty to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?" Hushai said to Absalom, "No, but the one whom the Lord and his people and all the Israelites have chosen, his I will be, and with him I will remain. Moreover, whom should I serve? Should it not be his son? Just as I have served your father, so I will serve you." Now, there's a little brief confusion about Hushai's loyalty here, but he seems to be in place. The spy seems to be in place. I want you to pay careful attention to how the writer wrote this. Absalom, he's questioning, why did you leave? What happened to loyalty to David? Why'd you leave David? And Hushai says, "No, I am loyal to the one whom the Lord and his people and all the Israelites have chosen." That's David. He hasn't changed his mind, but he's playing up to Absalom's pride, his ego. But then he says, "Who should I serve? Should it not be a son?" So he's remaining loyal to David, but he's serving Absalom. So Hushai, the writer, whoever it was, the writer here is very careful to keep in mind this implication that Hushai was still loyal to David, although he was serving Absalom.
When he says "long live the king," we're not sure which king.
Correct. We don't know. He doesn't say "long live you, Absalom." Verse 20. Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, "Give us your counsel. What shall we do?" Now Ahithophel, that was the most trusted advisor of David that went over to Absalom. Okay? Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Go into your father's concubines, the ones he has left to look after the house, and all Israel will hear that you have made yourself odious to your father, and the hands of all who are with you will be strengthened." So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof. And Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. We don't read that part. Now, in those days, the counsel that Ahithophel gave was as if one consulted the oracle of God. So all the counsel of Ahithophel was esteemed both by David and by Absalom. So what Absalom is so full of himself, he takes the counsel of Ahithophel, who was, again, he was the most trusted of David's advisors who has changed camps. And it was believed that he spoke to God, that he was the voice of God when it came to talking to David. And so they think that as well. Well, he tells Absalom, hey, go complete the changeover by sleeping with your father's concubines. Now, that typically only happened when the king died. The new king would then do that. But David's still alive. And so this is an egregious act. It eliminated all possibility of reconciliation. The idea comes from someone with the most to lose, which is funny, being Ahithophel, because if Absalom fails here, Ahithophel dies as a traitor. So he takes advantage of the trust and placed him as a speaker forward. He is really placing himself firm under Absalom. So he's in with Absalom till death do they part. On to 2 Samuel 17, verse 1. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, let me choose 12,000 men, and I will set out and pursue David tonight. I will come upon him while he is weary and discouraged and throw him into a panic. And all the people who are with him will flee. I will strike down only the king, and I will bring all the people back to you as a bride comes home to her husband. You seek the life of only one man, and all the people will be at peace. The advice pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Now, 12,000 people, men may seem overkill, but remember, David has loyal soldiers who have impressive military resumes.
And he admits he's killing the king.
Yep. Now, what's interesting is Ahithophel is not one of those listed as David's mighty men. He's just an advisor. And so it is outside of his realm of skill, at least it's implied, that he should lead the military or lead a military strike on one. So that should be our first indication of what is going to transpire. When someone has grandiose ideas of military might, but has no military training. Yeah. Come on, mouse. Then Absalom said, call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear too what he has to say. So Absalom, he's I don't know if I want you to lead. So when Hushai was one of the mighty men, or at least, Hushai is this trusted advisor. So when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom said to him, this is what Ahithophel has said. Shall we do as he advises? If not, you tell us. Then Hushai said to Absalom, this time the counsel that Ahithophel has given us is not good. Hushai continued, you know that your father and his men are warriors, and that they are enraged like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. Besides, your father is expert in war. He will not spend the night with the troops. Even now he has hidden himself in one of the pits or in some other place. And when some of our troops fall at the first attack, whoever hears it will say, there has been a slaughter among the troops who follow Absalom. So Hushai continues this deception in order to protect David. He doesn't want these 12,000 people to go out there because he doesn't know how it's going to turn out. So he is saying, Ahithophel, he's wrong here. He doesn't know military. David does, and so if he goes out, this ain't gonna be good. So he's protecting a lot of people here, but he's mainly protecting. Continues in verse 10. Then even the valiant warrior, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will utterly melt with fear. For all Israel knows that your father is a warrior, and that those who are with him are valiant warriors. But my counsel is that all Israel be gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, like sand by the sea for multitude, and that you go to battle in person. So we shall come upon him in whatever place he may be found, and we shall light on him as the dew falls on the ground, and he will not survive, nor will any of those with him. If he withdraws into a city, then all Israel will bring ropes to that city, and we shall drag it into the valley. They'll drag the city into the valley. Until not even a pebble is to be found there. Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For the Lord had ordained to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, so that the Lord might bring ruin on Absalom. So just like Saul, the Lord seems to have removed his spirit, or at least his favor, from Absalom. It's funny that, well, not funny, but Hushai, his counsel is that Absalom, you are really, if you want to look good in front of people, you're the one that needs to lead this. You need to go out and face your father. But he tells him exactly where to go, to draw all the people, because Hushai knows where David is. And so he's not going to send Absalom and all his troops to exactly where David is. He's going to make it a tactical advantage for David. So we're going to see here in a few minutes that he lets David know where they're going. Yeah, man, that's just like the CIA. Man, this is Mission Impossible all over. Mission Impossible, the oldest. Then Hushai said to the priests, Zadok and Abiathar, thus and so did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus and so I have counseled. Therefore send quickly and tell David, do not lodge tonight at the fords of the wilderness, but by all means cross over. Otherwise the king and all the people who are with him will be swallowed up. Jonathan and Ahimaaz were waiting at Enrogel. A servant girl used to go to them and to go and tell them, and they would go and tell King David, for they could not risk being seen entering the city. But a boy saw them and told Absalom. So both of them went away quickly and came to the house of a man at Bahurim who had a well in his house, and they went down into it. The man's wife took a covering, stretched it over the well's mouth, and spread out rain on it. And nothing was known of it. So we are realizing now there's more people involved in this this spy escapade, or whatever you want to call it, than we originally thought. Part of the connection, part of the communication network that David had set up involved these two men, Jonathan and Ahimaaz.
Now, who is Jonathan's not?
It's not, no, Jonathan, the son of Saul died. Yeah, this is just another person named Jonathan. But Jonathan and Ahimaaz were the messengers back and forth. They were the ones who were delivering messages. Well, typically they got their information from this little girl. But all of a sudden, a boy, someone that they hadn't counted on, saw them. And so in order to avoid setting David up for the fall here, they, instead of going and giving information, they go into hiding. They're kind of like undercover agents, if you will. And there's this man at Bahurim and his wife who protect them, put them in a little well that they have, and they cover up. Well, I mean, what the first, huh? No, the one thing that pops into my head is this movie called Red Dawn. It's about Russians, the original one, not the new. The original one, Russians attacked the United States and basically split the United States down the middle. They attacked from the west and the east. Yeah, there were people still loyal to the United States, and they protected these high schoolers who were building the revolution by hiding them in the basement and covering up everything, making it look like this. So that's what when Absalom's servants came to the woman at the house, they said, "Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan?" The woman said to them, "They have crossed over the brook of water." And when they had searched and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. I'll stop there. This is an example of righteous lying. This is that ethical dilemma. Would you lie to save someone's life? Yes. So, okay. After they had gone, the men came up out of the well and went and told King David. They said to David, "Go and cross the water quickly, for thus and so has Ahithophel counseled against you." So David and all the people who were with him set out and crossed the Jordan. By daybreak, not one was left who did not cross the Jordan. So in the time that they're in hiding, they know that they've got to quickly get a message from David. There's no one else to do it. And so they probably ran as hard as their hearts would and feet would let them. So their attack is imminent. But we get this idea of crossing the Jordan, mimicking the Red Sea. Last week, we got kind of that same thing as the people with David are leaving the city. It's kind of like an Exodus. Well, now we're getting a Red Sea kind of montage here too, as they're crossing the Jordan. I will say theologically, I like to theologize things a lot. Remember how they entered the Promised Land? They crossed the Jordan to get to the Promised Land. Well, now they're leaving. So there's kind of a dichotomous relationship there. When Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his donkey and went off home to his own city. He set his house in order and hanged himself. He died and was buried in the tomb of his father. So remember, I told you he was all in with Absalom, and his plan didn't work out. And so he knew that if he didn't kill himself, he was going to be killed for treason. So verse 24. Then David came to Mahanaim while Absalom crossed the Jordan with all men of Israel. So David and them have circled back around. Now Absalom had set Amasa over the army in place of Joab. Remember, Joab's still with David. Amasa was the son of a man named Ithra, the Ishmaelite, who had married Abigail, daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, who was Joab's mother. The Israelites and Absalom encamped in the land of Gilead. So Absalom appoints Joab's cousin as his new general. That could be good, that could be bad. We don't know.
So,
When you've got a civil war happening now, you've got cousin against family member against family member. Verse 27, when David came to Mahanaim, Shobi, son of Nahash, from Rabbah of the Ammonites, remember the Ammonites? And Machir, son of Amiel, from Lodabar, remember Lodabar? And Barzillai, the Gileadite from Rogelim. I know you don't remember Rogelim, but you remember Gilead. So they brought beds, basins, and earthen vessels, wheat, barley, meal, parched grain, beans, and lentils, honey and curds, sheep and sheaves from the herd, for David and the people with him to eat. For they said, the troops are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. Aid is coming from the people that David had conquered. And although you could say that he is requiring tribute, that it doesn't seem to imply that. These are people that he conquered, but apparently took care of in their conquered state, in their vassal area. So they're providing for their conqueror with all this stuff. Man, I wish wrong beds and bases. That's something. Okay, we got a couple of Psalms that talk about this particular thing. If someone wants to read Psalm 3, and then someone else read Psalm 63. Psalm 3 comes after Psalm 2. And before Psalm 4. It's funny how that works out. In here it's on 489. It's fast. Oh, y'all got two different bodies.
Maybe I'm saying to you, there is no help, but you, O Lord, are a shield around my glory and the one who lifts up my head. I cry aloud to the Lord and answer me of his holy will. I lie down and sleep, I waken him for the Lord's name. I am not afraid of 10,000 who have set themselves all around. Rise up, O me, oh my God, strike all my enemies. You break the teeth of the wicked. Deliverance belongs to the Lord, and your blessings belong to you.
Good. Now the byline for that particular one says, trust in God under adversity, a psalm of David when he fled from his son Absalom. The next Psalm 63, if someone would like to read that one.
that one, comfort and assurance. Psalm of David when he's in the wilderness. Oh God, you are my God. I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. Fetch my flesh. Dry and weary land, where there is no water. So I've looked at my conversation.
So that's
So what verse am I? So I have looked upon you in the sanctuary, beholding your power and glory. But your steadfast love is better than life. My lips will praise you. So I will bless you as long as I live. I will lift up my hands, call on your name. My soul is satisfied with rich feast, and my mouth praises you with joyful lips. When I think of you on my bed and meditate on you in the night, in the watches of the night, for you have been my help, and in the shadow of your wings I sing for joy. My soul clings to you, your right hand upholds me. But those who seek to destroy my life shall go down into the depths of the earth. They shall be given over to the power of the sword. They shall be prey for jackals. The king shall rejoice in God. All who swear by him shall exult, for the mouths of liars will be stopped.
Okay. So David has been here before, when he was on the run from Saul. So he knows his full faith, his full trust is in God to bring him out. And both of these, they're songs of praise. God, I trust you, you're going to bring me out of this. Oh God, you are my God, I will ever praise you. So it just goes to show David's character in the midst of adversity. Only this time he's not running by himself or with a small band. He's got a lot of people with him, and he still trusts God. And I'm certain, well, not certain, but my hope is that he's writing these songs after people who he's conquered are bringing him items of help, of aid, knowing that these are the things that he really needs, that not only him, but the people that he's leading to. So anyway, I'm done with that one. We're through singing now. It's a Key Hall reference there. On to chapter 18. Then David mustered the men who were with him and set over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. There's David's military expertise coming into play. And David divided the army into three groups: 1/3 under the command of Joab, 1/3 under the command of Abishai, son of Zeruiah. That's Joab's other brother. Remember, the other one was killed. And Joab's, it says Joab's brother, sorry. And 1/3 under the command of Ittai, the Gittite. That's another of the mighty men. The king said to the men, I myself will also go out with you. But the men said, you shall not go out, for if we flee, they will not care about us. If half of us die, they will not care about us, but you are worth 10,000 of us. Therefore, it is better that you send us help from the city. The king said to them, whatever seems best to you, I will do. So David's not so full of himself that he's not willing to listen to the wisdom of the military commanders. So the king stood at the side of the gate while all the army marched out by hundreds and by thousands. It seems to, at least my thoughts, like I said, I put my thoughts on the screen there. David's feelings here, the reason he wants to go out is because he wants to lead the people. He wants to be a leader that leads from the front, because I'm sure he remembers what happened with Uriah. He didn't go to battle with men, and it cost a lot of stuff. Cost him a life of one of his sons. One of his sons. So his commanders, there's this thought coming from a military man myself, that there's a feeling that his feelings for his son could compromise the campaign. So these military men might be thinking that. Joab, I told you, we questioned his character before. I think, we'll see here in a few minutes that Joab could have been thinking something else too. And we'll see what happens.
Which one is David's son?
David's son's not in here.
Oh, okay.
Absalom would be his son.
Okay.
Yeah. Absalom is the oldest that is alive right now. Amnon was his oldest. Absalom is the second. Now that Amnon's dead, Absalom is
Heir apparent.
right. Mm-hmm. And remember, he loves his son. He cried over him when he left. Well, the king ordered Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom. And all the people heard when the king gave orders to all the commanders concerning Absalom. So the army went out into the field against Israel, and the battle was fought in the forest of Ephraim. The men of Israel were defeated there by the servants of David, and the slaughter there was great on that day, 20,000 men. The battle spread over the face of all the country, and the forest claimed more victims that day than the sword. So in this battle, God, supposedly supporting David, used creation itself to fight the forces of evil there in Israel, led by Absalom. Some translations will state that wild beasts devoured the combatants. So it could be that. I think that there were so many soldiers who still battled their inner demons as to who they would show loyalty to, fled the scene of the battle to avoid doing something that from which they couldn't come back from. There's a lot of different ways you can look at that, but I just think it's neat that the writer would say that the forest claimed more victims that day than the battles. Verse 9, Absalom happened to meet the servants of David. Absalom was riding on his mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a great oak. His head caught fast in the oak, and he was left hanging between heaven and earth, while the mule that was under him went on. I'll stop here for a brief moment. We're all familiar with this story. We've all heard this and how it ends. So there's no spoiler alert here. But I do want to make your mind go back to when we first met Absalom. It said that he cut his hair every season. He sheared off his head every season. The fact that he's got long hair tells us that his mentality has changed. Hair is well, at least nowadays, we can look at it as a sign of pride. I loved my hair in high school, joined the army. It's never been the same. I won't say it would be long, but it'd be like Mel Gibson of the 80s, late 80s is what my hair looked like. Anyway. Yeah, I've got pictures, but you don't want to see them right now. Hair is a sign of pride, I think, in this instance, and it's pride that led to Absalom's defeat, his own ego. So we'll continue. A man saw it and told Joab, "I saw Absalom hanging in an oak." Joab said to the man who told him, "What? You saw him? Why then did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have been glad to give you 10 pieces of silver and a belt." Ooh, I love a belt. But the man said to Joab, "Even if I felt in my hand the weight of 1,000 pieces of silver, I would not raise my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing, the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, saying, 'For my sake, protect the young man Absalom.'" Right now, we're beware Joab's character. Why did Joab want David and Absalom to reconcile? Why did he want Absalom to come back to the city?
Get rid of it.
I think it was to get rid of him, not to reconcile. He knew there would be problems between the two. So Absalom here has fled the battle, and this is an often overlooked detail when it comes to people's responses. The man who saw him reports to Joab, and it's, Joab's like, "Well, why didn't he kill him?" Because King David said not to. I heard him standing right there beside you when he told you directly, "Don't kill him. Be gentle with him." On the other hand, he is continuing his statement to Joab. "On the other hand, if I had dealt treacherously against his life, and there is nothing hidden from the king, then you yourself would have stood aloof." Joab said, "I will not waste time like this with you." He took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them into the heart of Absalom while he was still alive in the oak. And 10 young men, Joab's armor bearers, surrounded Absalom and struck him. So what the guy is telling him is, "Joab, if I had killed him, you would have had to answer the king, which means you'd have to kill me too, to keep it quiet." Joab is bloodthirsty. For shame, his armor bearers, those young men, must follow their master at the risk of death themselves. So they see their commander Joab killing Absalom, and so they join in. It's 11 on, and the one is greatly compromised.
I always thought he died from hanging.
I thought you died from like a rope.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
He was still.
He was still alive when Joab stabbed him with 3 spears in his life. Then Joab sounded the trumpet. That's the trumpet of victory. He killed the opposing commander. And the troops came back from pursuing Israel, for Joab restrained the troops. They took Absalom, threw him into a great pit in the forest, and raised over him a very great heap of stones. Meanwhile, all the Israelites fled to their homes. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up for himself a pillar that is in the king's valley, for he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. He called the pillar by his own name. There's pride again. He is called Absalom's monument to this day. We have no proof. There's nothing that we have no clue where this might be, even if it was real. But say it is. So the rebel army here is retreating. Absalom at one time is said to have had 3 sons. So how do we reconcile this? Well, the 3 sons could have either died by this point. Maybe they died during the childbirth or something. Or he put the monument up before he even knew he was going to have kids. It could have happened years later or years before he had kids.
So those are the grandchildren.
Well, the 3 that are mentioned here, Absalom one time is said to have 3 sons. Those would have been David's grandkids here. So we're done for today. Next time, mourning, meeting, and mercy. I mean, we kind of stopped the story in the middle of it. We know how the story ends, how David weeps for Absalom. So there's definitely going to be a mourning period. He mourned for him when he left. David loves his children, and we're going to find out that his children don't love him as much as he loves them. Anyway, so we'll stop it there. Any questions or concerns, criticisms, complaints, anything with a C or Q?
Absalom.
Yes,
Was against you at this moment.
Oh, yeah.
Very much.
And
David wants to protect it still.
And most of it stemmed, number one, from the rape of Tamar and David not doing anything to Amnon, not exacting judgment on Amnon for doing. That was where it stemmed from, and it just grew when he comes back into town, regardless of what the motive was from Joab. He comes back into town after many years of being away. And David don't even talk to him for 2 years. Well, there's probably going to be some animosity there too. So, but there's also a sense, as we said, Absalom right now is the heir apparent. If David dies, he becomes rightfully, put that in quotation marks. Those, what do they call those? Those are
Air.
well, yeah, air quotes, but there's a
Wiggly signs of
I
authority.
think they call them danger quotes or whatever. Yeah, my professor, Dr. Shade, had she named me something funny. Yeah, he's the rightful king in that. But anyway,
You gonna be here next week?
I won't be here on Saturday, so that's why there's no minister Saturday.
Oh, okay.
But I'll be here Sunday, yes.
Will you be here? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I agree. I plan on being here. If the Lord willing and the creek don't rise. So.
Creek's been rising. It's
Yeah. We're over here.
listen. Yeah. This is not affected by the flood.
Thank goodness.
Any other questions or anything? Or I shut this thing down? Okay. Y'all have a good day. See y'all in a little bit.
Oh.